Okay, I think we'll make a start because I am sending out the recording after this. So if there are a few latecomers, it's not a problem. I'll start by introducing myself. So I'm Tash. I'm a former teacher. I now work on the new schools team at Third Space Learning. So I work on the intervention side of what we do. So if you're not already familiar, just for a bit of context, there are two sides to Third Space Learning, two areas that we focus on. We have our one-to-one maths interventions. So we've got a team of our own specialist maths tutors that we pair up on a one-to-one basis with students. And we've got various different programs. We've got Key Stage 3 programs and we've got GCSE revision programs as well. We've been doing that for about 11 years now. And then the other side of what we do is our resources. So that's what we're focusing on this webinar. So we've got a really extensive resource library, and at secondary, they are all free. So all the resources that we're going to talk about today are downloadable for free. And I will send out the recording and the slides. So any links that you see on the slides, once I've sent them out, you can follow them there. And if you have any questions at any point about the resources, just pop them in the chat and we will come to them at the end. And I'm joined by Paul. So he is the brains behind a lot of these resources and the sort of beacon of knowledge for our resource library. So he's going to talk us through our resources, which are the most impactful and how they can be used, and of course, answer any questions at the end. So let's make a start then. Paul, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. Good afternoon. My name's Paul. I am a former maths teacher. I have about 9 years experience in the classroom. I've done loads of different roles within different maths departments as a lead practitioner, TLR holder, and then I spent a few years as a specialist leader of education supporting departments around the Northwest. I'm now very proud to work at Third Space Learning, leading on our secondary resources and content, as well as all of our academic content on our tutoring. So today we're going to have a look at some of our resources. Everything is free. We're going to give you some tips on how we can use them in the classroom, how we can use them for the revision. I know mocks will be happening around this time, but also with one eye on the summer exam series. So really excited to get going. We'll try and do this as swiftly as possible. I know everybody will be very tired after a long day.
Great, thanks, Paul. And let's get straight into it, like you said. So, in terms of the way that we've organised the resource library, it's split into six main topic areas. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah. So we've taken the entire maths curriculum and split it up into six main areas. We've color coded them, and then you'll see as we go through some of the resources, the colors go across all of our resources. So there they are, and we've separated out the curriculum into those areas.
Great, very clear with this colour scheme. Thanks, Paul. And we've got a list then of all the resources that we're going to cover today. Do you want to just give us a whistle stop tour so everyone knows what we're going to cover?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to look at our revision PowerPoints, which contain hundreds and hundreds of questions. We're going to look at our revision mats, which take larger topics and condense them down into one piece of A4 paper. We'll look at our diagnostic question collections, which will highlight misconceptions. And we'll look at our revision cards, which is one of our newer resources. And they're really nicely designed and all free. And then on the next slide, we will also look at our practice exam papers, which are our most popular resource. And we have some exciting new developments for 2025 Tash, which I'm excited to share. We'll look at our revision guides, which are very much the heart of our revision library. And leading on from that, we'll have our worksheets and exam questions. And we'll also touch on a few little extra things at the end, which are, we're designed to try and support your students.
Great. Lots there, Paul, and I'm sure they'll all prove really helpful. So let's get into the first one, our revision PowerPoints. So what are these and how do you recommend they can be used?
Well, these were requested by some of our customers. These were very much designed for just before the exam season. So I remember being in the classroom, being a teacher, in the final few days running up to the exams. We often want a large bank of exam questions. We might be collapsing the timetable. We might be in the hall. There might be quite a few students in front of us. What we have here is hundreds and hundreds of questions categorized by those six topics we talked about before. They're all exam style questions. They're all typical exam style questions of the particular topics. So what we do is we want to put it on the screen, get the children with mini whiteboards, get testing them, and we can go through lots and lots of different topics very, very quickly. What's great about these as well is if you wanted to email this resource out to your students, if you have a little look down there, Tash, at the bottom of the picture, it says angles and polygons. That's the topic of that particular question, but it's also a hyperlink. So if you click onto that, that will take you straight to our revision resource library, and you can find information and examples and questions, and even some videos on that particular topic. So it's a great way of promoting independent revision.
Yeah, sounds great and really helpful. Thanks, Paul. It's so useful just having a really large bank of questions because you run out of past paper questions so quickly when you've got year 11s that you're revising with. And I also know how much time I spent as a teacher trawling through trying to find questions on a particular topic. So it's great that we've got a really, really extensive bank that you can dip into and hopefully won't run out. Okay, next resource, we have revision mats. So really nice visual resource. Can you talk us through this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really like these. What we've done is we've taken large areas of the curriculum. Again, the color code in there is running through all of our resources, and we've condensed them down into a series of revision maps for each topic. And we have one for higher and one for foundation. So in this example, this is a probability higher revision mat. And what we've taken is a question from each of the key areas, a typical question, and put them in one place. So what you might want to do is give this to your students as part of a revision session, as part of a form class, as part of a cover lesson even, or homework. Let them go through each question. Then we can mark it. Everything we do comes with extensive mark schemes and answers, so we can mark it. You might even want to red, amber, green each of the questions. And then what we can see at a glance is how many green topics, how many red topics, how many amber topics. And then they can use that as a template to then go on to our revision library and revise some of those topics. So Venn diagrams, I've got a red, I haven't got it fully right. I can go on to the third space learning resource library, type in Venn diagrams, and I'm presented with loads and loads of resources to help me practice that particular topic.
Yeah, and really nice for their own independent revision as well, I think. If they can have this mat and give them a visual representation of the whole topic, they can tick things off as they go. They're not feeling overwhelmed. They know what are all the different subtopics within this topic and make sure they're confident on all the areas once when they're revising that topic and know that nothing's been missed off. Yeah, big fan of those. Okay, next, so we have our diagnostic questions. Obviously, so important for teachers to be able to address their students' misconceptions and know what they are and understand where students are with their topics. So, yeah, talk us through diagnostic questions, Paul.
Diagnostic questions are absolutely amazing. So again, we've got hundreds of these broken down by a topic. What's so wonderful about these is we have our question and then we have four answers. So one of the answers is correct, and the other three have been very carefully selected to represent a very particular misconception. So by giving these to our students, again, in form as a starter, we can even build a whole lesson around this. We can identify those particular misconceptions and then start to unpick them and help them to revise them for the exam. One of my favorite ways to use these would be to give them the question and then say, okay, the answer here is A. The answer is A. We're not interested in the answer. But look at these three misconceptions. What is the misconception? Ask them. They can do it in groups, they can do it individually, and then they can then adjust the question to make each of those misconceptions correct. It's a really, really lovely way of getting the children involved, thinking about those misconceptions. Lots of lovely, deep conversations can be had here.
Great. Sounds really valuable, especially giving them the they know what the correct answer is. They need to identify the misconception. That's such a valuable skill for them. And it's a similar approach in terms of using diagnostic questions that we take in the GCSE revision program we run. So we'll use a baseline assessment, which is made up of 20 different diagnostic questions. And then the tutor knows the starting point that that student is at for each particular topic, and then can plan the sequence of lessons in that program around that, prioritizing where they need the most support. And then the other thing we've done is we've taken a diagnostic question and put it at the beginning of each individual session that they sit with their tutor so that they know the tutor knows, right, this is the most up-to-date information on where the student currently is with this topic, and then they can make that lesson as scaffolded as necessary, or if the pupil has actually shown a lot of understanding and confidence with that topic, then they can embed a bit of stretch and challenge and get through maybe more exam style questions that lesson, just to optimize the revision time. So yeah, lots of ways that can be sort of replicated in the classroom. It's quite a versatile resource.
Absolutely.
Okay. And a revision tool. I really like these revision cards.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've taken our online revision guides, which we'll talk about in just a minute. We've condensed them down into a revision card. Really beautifully designed. We've got them for loads and loads of topics. Um, Something that would often happen, and I know, Tash, you can relate to this as well. Lots of students can often spend a lot of time making these beautiful, beautiful revision cards, but then they don't necessarily use them. So what we've done is we've made them here and they're all done. As we've said, everything that we do is completely free. We're here to partner with you, with schools, to support you, to support your students. You can buy revision cards. We used to buy revision cards when I was teaching for the students, and they're very nice, but they're quite expensive. So in a world of decreasing budgets, these are completely free. Download them, print them off, give them to your students, and they're all there for you.
Yeah, definitely. I remember there were always a lot of students in year 11 that were making very pretty flashcards with colour schemes and highlighters. And I did always tell them the most valuable thing about them is when you actually use them rather than spending too long making them. So I love, yeah, the idea of giving them ones that are already made. They just need to start using them. Okay, and I think these are our most popular resource. Is that right, Paul? The exam papers.
They are indeed. So these are our most popular resource for secondary. We've become really well known for these. We've been making them now for the last 4 years, so we've got a lot of data to back these up. The people that make all these resources are all current and former maths teachers, but they're also current and former examiners. So what we've done is every single year at the end of the summer exam season, we take a moment and we look back across the last 5, 6, 7 years worth of exams. We take all that data and we analyze it so that we can then say how the different types of questions are progressing over the years. We write a blog on that every single year, which we will send out as well when we send out these slides. But we use that data then to create our papers every single year. So they are predicted papers based on what has been happening in the past few years. Obviously, we don't know what's on the paper, but it's a relatively good approximation. These are absolutely wonderful. We make them for Edexcel, AQA, OCR. We make higher versions and we make foundation versions. And Tash, incredibly exciting, we have a brand new addition to these for 2025, which was a request again from our teachers, from our customers. And that is, we have beautiful mark schemes here. But in order to make these really student friendly, we're going to create model walkthrough papers. So our team will be going through the brand new papers, creating model answers for them, and then putting on where the marks come from. So students can really see if I write that down, I get 1 mark. If I write that down, I get 2 marks. And while we're doing that, we're going to also record ourselves doing it. So we'll have a video of that. So there's loads of different ways that you and your students can access these new papers. They are currently in the process of being created. We're hoping to have them done, well, we will have them done by Easter. So watch out for them. They're going to be really, really great. Really excited about these.
Great, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think more exam papers are always welcome. You can never have enough in your collection when you're trying to help your year 11s. And I love the idea of a walkthrough as well, where they can really see you painting the picture of how to approach questions and where you can pick up all the marks. Okay, our next resource, our online revision guides. These are really versatile, aren't they?
Yeah, so these are very much the heart of our resource library. They're all online. These are all web pages. And if you go to thirdspacelearning.com, click on resources, click on revision guides, you will see a revision guide for every single topic you can possibly imagine. You can see down there that there's about 500 of these on the site, all broken down into topics, all broken down into hubs. So similar pages are grouped together. These are designed to support your students to work independently. And we can have a little look through one of the pages now so we can see how a student might want to use one of these pages. So if you go onto the revision library and you type in simultaneous equations, or even if you just go to Google and type in simultaneous equations, you'll see this. Click on this, and this left-hand side here is what you'll be presented with. So we start off with a quick overview of the topic, And then lots of these now have an accompanying video which talks through some examples and talks through some questions, and it's there as a guide to support the students while they're having a go. Scroll down the page a bit more, we come to this right-hand side. We have a quick overview of the topic, and then that's that revision card I was talking about before. It's on the page as well. It flips round so students can write down any information from it, flip it on the page, and they can see if they've got it correct. So that's a really nice little feature. We keep scrolling down that page. On the left-hand side, then we get how to solve, in this case, simultaneous equations. We've taken every topic and we've broken it down into steps. And then we go through about 5, 6 examples using those steps. Now, what I really like about these is they're all collapsible. So the student can try the first one just by reading through. Then they can have a go at the second one, and then they can click on each step as they're going through it. So it's there as a scaffold, it's there as a support for them, so they can make progress all the way down those 6 examples. We keep going down the page, and then we get to our practice questions. These are all diagnostic in nature, one correct answer, 3 misconceptions, and they are all self-marked. So the student can click on it and they can see instantly if it's right or not with an explanation. And then at the bottom of every single revision guide, we have exam questions because ultimately we are revising for our GCSEs. So these are really, really helpful. Again, made by examiners with full mark schemes so your students can see where the marks come from. So they're great. They're a great way of your students revising. You might want to use these as part of a revision session. You might want to use these as part of a flipped learning lesson. You might want to send your student to these when you've completed one of the exam papers or one of the revision mats. These form the heart of everything that we do, and they're a lovely resource, all free, all available online.
Great. And because it's self-marked, it can obviously be used as an independent resource as well. So I know I spoke to some teachers who were saying that all their students have Chromebooks. So if they ever have a supply lesson or a cover lesson, then maybe you could assign a specific revision guide online and they could all work through that as another example.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Let's move on to our GCSE worksheets. So these are really clever because they're divided up into 3 sort of sections that build up logically. Explain how that all works, Paul.
So we wanted to create resources that maths teachers want to use. We are maths teachers, so we wanted to create resources that we would want to use. So every single one of those revision guides comes with its own bespoke worksheet. And we split it into 3 sections, so you can use it in lots of different ways. So that first section on the left is the skill section. In here, we have 3 or 4 little subsections of different types of skill-based questions. Each of those sections is intelligently varied, so students aren't able to guess the next answer. They're constantly having to think. This is a lovely way of starting off the topic and getting students used to the particular skill. Now, once the students are feeling good with that, what you can do is move on to the middle section, which is the applied section. This contains diagrams, or it might contain charts, or it might bring in different topics. And what we're doing is using those skills in an applied way. So this is the next section. Following this, again, we are preparing our Year 11s for their GCSEs. So we have exam questions, again, written by our examiners, broken down very, very carefully, and we've got full mark schemes to go along with these. So we have a real progression there all the way through, and they're available to use as you want to use them. You know your students the best. What we're trying to do is give you all the tools at your fingertips so you can deliver amazing maths lessons.
Yeah, it's a really effective way to move through a topic, isn't it? I know sometimes if you have a student who's not very confident with a topic and they're presented with an exam question, that can be really quite overwhelming. So I think this is a nice way to sort of strip it back and take it right back to the initial skill that you need, then build up to applying it, and then build up to an exam style question. So it can really um, help with any student who's overwhelmed or behind, and they need to go back to the prerequisite knowledge to be able to access the exam questions. Sticking to the topic of exam questions, then, our next resource is our bank of exam questions.
So we're trying to make things that are really useful. So we thought, well, maybe when we get to the exam season, maybe we don't want to look at the skills. or the applied section. Maybe we just want our students, some of them, to practice that exam technique. Well, if we left it as it was, those worksheets have three big sections. That would mean that teachers would have to download the whole thing, which is going to be quite a lot of pieces of paper, which is ultimately going to cost quite a bit of money. So we thought, well, let's just take the exam questions and make them a separate resource as well. So that's what we've done. The questions are all available to download separately, so that if you just want to focus on exam technique, you can without having to download the other areas. And what's really nice about these is these link to our topic list, which we've created, which seamlessly, Tash, hopefully on the next slide,
Yeah.
we have a topic list. Now, this is quite simple, but also really lovely. This shows every single topic that your students might need for their GCSEs. We have a higher one and we have a foundation one. So we can see all the topics there in a big list and they can tick them off. You can direct them to different areas. Following an exam, they can red, amber, green them. So they can see very clearly how many topics they need to revise. And if you fancied emailing this out to them, they're all hyperlinked. So you click on that and it will go straight to one of those exam question packs. So they can download actual questions in their hands that they can use. And what we often do, Tash, is every year during the summer exam season, once paper one's done, we'll adjust this topic list so that topics that have already appeared, we'll grey them out. After paper two, topics that have already appeared, we'll grey them out. Now, this is not to tell students not to revise those because those topics can, of course, come up again. It is just to direct students to some of the topics that may come up that haven't come up yet. It's a lovely resource. I really like this. This would have been a really useful thing for me when I was in the classroom.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites would have been the exam questions as well. And like you said, saving on printing and lots of bits of paper is always helpful and needed in the classroom. But yeah, it's also something I think teachers could use if they're running any extra interventions or any extra sessions, whether that's small group or one-to-one, having a big collection bank of exam questions is always a help. You can never have too many. Um, and the way our interventions work in terms of the GCSE programs is they do work through these GCSE style questions each week so that you're sort of getting them more exposure to them and also more familiar and more confident. So I think it's always useful having as many questions that they can be exposed to as possible. And then, like you said, the topic list are also such a good organizational tool, so they can tick things off as they go and feel more confident that they're making lots of progress with their revision. Okay, and moving on to another great revision tool, our formula sheets. So I think the first thing to just quickly clarify is these aren't the formula sheets that they get in the exam. This is a revision tool.
Yes, absolutely. So any formulas that may or may not be needed in the exam, that has been changing over the last couple of years. That will be identified by the exam board. What we wanted to try and do is produce a resource that will give all the formulas that a student may need to use for higher or for foundation, so they can use it as a revision tool. Quite often, students will struggle to access some of the questions simply because they don't have the knowledge of the formula of, let's say, a cylinder. Well, this is a resource that you may want to use to support them to scaffold the learning so that that's not a barrier to entry for them. So it's here if you want to use it, higher and foundation, and we've highlighted as well any crossover formulas.
Yeah, I really like these. I think they're really helpful for revision lessons so that if you've got students who haven't committed things to memory yet, they can still access the practice that their peers are accessing. They can still get value from practicing questions because they've got these and they're not just sitting there waiting for the answers to come up, feeling quite stuck and frustrated. They can just check what the formula is and then still benefit from going through and practicing some exam questions. Okay, our next resource is another sort of organizational tool. We've got revision and exam timetables. How do these work?
Yeah, so these are really simple, but can be really effective. So we've got a blank revision timetable, which students can use to fill in and structure their revision. So you might want to use this as part of a revision session. You might want to give them this and talk through different techniques on how to revise. This comes with an accompanying blog. The blog gives some top tips based on the research on how students might want to structure their revision. It's a really nice resource if you would like to use it. And the one on the right is even more simple, but this would have been a lovely, lovely thing when I was in the classroom. It's a blank exam timetable. So I remember particularly around the mock season, I'd ask one of the students, when is your mock? And they go, oh, I don't know. And then I'd say to them, well, we gave you a piece of paper, and then they go into their bag and pull out this ragged bit of paper, and then they couldn't read it. So here is a lovely template where they can write it in beautifully. It can go on the wall, it can go in their books. It's there if you would find it useful.
Yeah, I've definitely seen my fair share of crumpled up papers that have been pulled out of blazer pocket or the bottom of a backpack. So Vic couldn't agree with you more. Nice to have something that they can stick on the wall, be really clear where they need to be and when. Okay, coming soon. What can teachers keep an eye out for, Paul?
Oh, so in addition to our brand new paper walkthroughs, we have a brand new resource coming this year. It's currently in production. We're going to have it ready for the exam season, so around Easter time. This was another request from one of our teachers. This will be aiming for grade 5, aiming for grade 4 exam booklets. So we're going to make them for grades 1 up to grades 9. We're going to go back through our vast library of exam style questions and skill questions and applied questions, and we're going to bring them together into different grade bundles. So we're going to have lots of grade 1 questions in the grade 1 booklet, lots of grade 7 questions in the grade 7 booklet. And then what we can do as teachers then, if we have a student who, say, targeted a grade 5, but got a grade 3 in their latest assessment, what we could do is then give them the Aiming for Grade 3 booklet, get them confident on that, then get the Aiming for Grade 4 booklet, and then the Aiming for Grade 5 booklet. And everything will be broken down by those topics we talked about earlier. Everything will be hyperlinked and linked back to our online revision guides and our exam questions. So hopefully this will be a really helpful resource for you. Really excited to share this with you all. It's currently in production, and I think we're going to send out a form so that where you can put your email address. So the second these are live, we will send them straight to you so you don't miss out because that would be terrible.
Yes, really like these. Means you've got something for everyone, for all your students, regardless of what their target grade is, come the summer. And yes, we will have a form that you can fill in, which means you'll get these as soon as they're ready. So don't forget to sign that if you feel like this will be something that's helpful for your students. Okay, so what we've covered today is sort of just the tip of the iceberg, really. So we do encourage you to log on to the into the resource library, have a look through all the different resources. Like we've said, you all know your classes best, so do just have a look through and see what else is there and what you think is suited to your class. Some of the things that we haven't covered are up on the screen now, just so you can see what else there is. So we've got SLT guides, we've got GCSE maths intervention packs. We've got one-to-one interventions, we've got blogs and articles, Fluent in 5, which is our fluency program, and then of course we do have our Key Stage 3 resources on there as well. These GCSE maths intervention packs are just the second square there. They are taken directly from our GCSE intervention program. So I'm often speaking with schools about these because I'm speaking to them about their approach to extra maths support and extra maths interventions in the run up to GCSEs. And something I hear a lot is that you're running lots of different things in school, in house, but it's really hard in terms of staff being stretched really thin and being at capacity, it's really hard to reach every single student. So that's when schools sometimes come to us and ask for help, and we will take a group. So whether that's a group of students that are targeting grade 4, whether that's a group of students who are targeting grade 6 or grade 7, we've got a program for each target grade. So we can take that group, pair them off with their own one-to-one tutor that they meet with each week. So that's via a headset and a shared screen, and they'll get an hour of dedicated one-to-one time each week to work through exam style questions and getting that live feedback and support, helping them achieve their target grade. So if you do have any students that come to mind, we are running those programs. So the GCSE program, we will be signing up lots of schools to start in January. So if you did think that's of interest to a group of your pupils, if you get in touch as soon as you can, then we can try and fit you in terms of time slots and get you set up for January. The best way to have a conversation about it is just to email hello@thirdspacelearning.com, and then we can set up a call and chat about your situation in your school and how we might be able to help. Um, so, Paul, That's all the resources. Do you have anything to add, or should we take a look and see if we've got any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'd be absolutely delighted to answer them.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen so I can read off if anyone's got any questions. If you have any, do just pop them in the chats, and we can go through them. But I also appreciate people. We said we'd finish at 4:30, so people probably do need to rush off. But we'll give it a few seconds. Okay, I can see we've got a hand raised, which I'm guessing means Christina, you have a question, but it's not coming up. So if you put it in the chat, if you type it out, then we can answer it from there. Oh, we've got someone who's come through and said thank you for the session and information. No, you're welcome. But yes, thank you so much, Paul. That was really insightful, and I think we went over a lot of resources in a quick period of time. So thanks for all your knowledge, Paul.
It's my pleasure. I'm absolutely delighted to share these. The team are maths teachers and we're here to support. And if you do have any questions, please do reach out to us. Or if you have any ideas of resources that we can make in the future, please do get in touch with us. We are maths teachers. We're here to support you to deliver great maths lessons. So anything we can do, we're here for you. Everything we make on the resources front is completely free. So please do get in touch.
Yes, great. And we've had another comment that's saying that it's the Q&A section where you put the questions, not the chat, just in case there's any confusion there. But so far, we've just had comments about the session rather than any questions. So I think we will just. We've got a question here just coming in now, Paul. Any chance of tailoring to CAIE in international exams?
It's a really good question. So at the moment, to try and reach as many teachers as possible, we've gone for the big three exam boards, so Edexcel, AQA, and OCR. But never say never. We can certainly look into this, but at the moment, we're focusing on those big three exam boards.
Yeah, lots of things that we obviously want to do in limited time to get everything in. Another question from Christina: do you have any extension materials for these main worksheets?
Yeah, so with those worksheets, there's about 500 of them. What I do for extension materials is I would start off with those skill questions. The applied section then takes some of that knowledge a little bit further. The exam questions take the applied knowledge and apply it to an exam question. And then what I would do is take that to the online revision guide where we've got more complex questions down towards the bottom of the page. So I would direct students onto there so that they can stretch themselves a little bit more.
Great, sounds really good. And another question's just come in from Michelle. Do you have any resources for lower ability primary but who are secondary age?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. So we are building up our Key Stage 3 resources collection as we speak. We have some lovely resources on there, including end of year assessments and different quizzes. So I would watch this space in terms of that. What I would recommend doing as well, though, is we have thousands of primary resources as part of our maths hub. So it's well worth going onto there and having a look. Loads of those are free. Some of those are premium, which have to be done through a subscription. But loads of them are free. So I would have a look on there and see if there's any resources that you particularly like.
Yeah, it's about the first 6 weeks of each resource that's free at primary. So you can definitely sort of log on and have a look at the different resources and see if it's something that you think will be helpful for your lower ability students.
But just say again, secondary is free. Secondary is
Yes.
absolutely free. Everything is free. Go on there, take it all, download it. It's here, it's there for you.
Yes, secondary is all free. You just need to go to thirdspacelearning.com and the resources are downloadable all from there. So sometimes it can be a bit confusing. The primary is what we call our mass hub. And if you're logging into there and you can't see secondary resources, you can just see primary. You just need to log out of that and go on thirdspacelearning.com. And then there's a banner at the top that says resources and then scroll down to secondary and they're all in there. And a comment from Christine's just come through. Thank you for all your hard work at Third Space Learning. I found the resources to be fantastic and hugely supported me as a non-specialist teacher. That's lovely to hear, Christine.
Oh,
And
that's
that's a
great.
credit to you,
Thank you so
Paul, and
much.
all your really helpful resources.
We have a wonderful team working working to support. So please let us know any way that we can partner with your school to support your students.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Paul. I think I haven't seen anything else come through, so I think we're ready to sort of wrap it up. But if anyone did have any more questions that they didn't have a chance to type in, then the best way to reach us is hello@thirdspacelearning.com. And then Paul or someone from the resource team will be able to answer any questions. Or if you've got questions about the interventions, then email them again to hello@thirdspacelearning.com, and we'd be happy to have a chat. But thank you very much for joining, everyone. I really hope this was helpful. And thank you so much, Paul, for taking us through everything.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.